So WillE uploaded a video called Wrath Rating was a complete mess for all the right reasons. Let's watch this video, boys, okay? I, for one, am excited for Wrath. I think Wrath is going to be fun. So let's watch this video here, and let's see what WillE has to say about Wrath, okay? You actually did it? I did, man. A promise is a promise, okay? I give a promise, I do it, man. That's how it goes, dude. Alright, let's see.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, WillE here. Raiding. If there has been one aspect of World of Warcraft that has constantly kept it above water over the years, it's been raiding. Through the thick.
Raiding is the biggest part about WoW, right? Like, that's what most people do.
Drama and criticism. It's been one of those areas of Azeroth players current and past can look at and say, yeah, that's actually pretty good. From the humble beginnings of these open caverns filled with giants and elementals, where players and developers really stumbled their way through resistance-based encounters and trying to make something work for up to 40 people, all the way to today where we have esport teams, huge sponsor-led events, coaches, analysts, and 20 incredible players performing the utter peak of WoW PvE content, all for us live to enjoy as each new tier opens up on Mythic.
Even as someone who doesn't like do retail raiding, like watching the world first race is always so cool because it's just cool. I don't know what it is about it. It's cool seeing a lot of people work together for something like that and like try to like overtake those raiding counters for the first time. It's fun to watch. Even if you are not into retail, I think most people that at least have watched WoW before or played WoW before can dig that, right?
Raiding has undergone many changes to get where it is today. In fact, it must be one of the, if not the most iterated upon gameplay systems we still have. From day one of vanilla all the way up to today in Shadowlands, there has always been, and always will be, raiding. But it wasn't always so simple as vanilla or as
SAR 3D. God, I like this raid, man.
Complicated as a mythic raid in Shadowlands. There is a lot of stuff in between. Testing ideas, trial and error, scaling that balance of challenge for the hardcore players, whilst creating an entry point for the more casual WoW fans. And a lot of that took place during Wrath of the Lich King, our next step for Classic. Wrath was the only expansion ever where raiding changed in some way every...
Raiding for me... I first began like actual raiding in Wrath. Like I played vanilla, I played TBC, but I was a kid, right? And I barely did any raids. In TBC, I basically just did like Sulaman and Karasan. Basically, right? But Wrath is like the first time where I actually started raiding because I could do 10-man raids, right? I did 10-man raiding and it was really fun. Like Wrath was the time where I played WoW the most and I played the most seriously.
Single.
And I think a lot of people are probably the same.
It certainly didn't stop it being incredibly successful back then, but I wonder the second time around whether everything will be kept as it was in the order that it went. It might all be a little bit confusing because we start off with 10 and 25-man raids, they drop different gear and tokens, and of course they don't share a lockout, but then things change to include hard modes, which also drop different gear and are activated in random ways before the fights inside it.
I like hard modes. I'm not too big of a fan of the current retail thing where there's like LFR, normal, heroic, mythic, mythic elite, whatever there is, right? Like, I like this. I like the hard mode thing where you can toggle a hard mode. Like, there's one difficulty in the raid and you can toggle the hard mode. I think that was sick. That was really, really cool. We're not doing the BT right now. I know it popped. We're just watching this video. I liked it a lot. I mostly did 10-man raiding, because that meant I could just play with most of my friends and just like, you know, do that. But 25-man raiding, I think is cool still.
Instance, we have a secret end boss which despawns after an hour as well.
I like
special
10-man raiding.
Server first achievements. But then after that, we throw everything we just worked on in the bin and add 10 and 25-man normals and heroics instead that you need to toggle outside of the instance. But the heroic raids get us.
Dude, so you can do 4 lockouts. Oh my god. Imagine being like a try-hard raiding guild in Wrath. There is so many raids you can do if you want to maximize your gear. Oh my god. I'm not going to play Wrath like super try-hard and super sweaty. But oh my god, that's a lot of lockouts.
Set number of attempts per week until the instance auto-locks out. And then there's also even more insane achievements, but the normals and heroics don't share a lockout here, so you can run the same raid 4 times per week. Later on, they do share a lockout.
Imagine doing like 4 lockouts of all the raids on like an alt and a main character. Oh my god, dude.
out, and we also keep attempts, but only for the end bosses, and we're also going to release them in a staggered way week after week, so you can't clear it all too fast. And then at the end there's Ruby Sanctum, which is actually kind of normal, and then they change stuff again in Kata, but only a little bit. You get all of that then? So yeah, raids are a bit of a mess. Not the raids themselves per se, but Wrath of the Lich King raiding is just all over the place format wise from one tier to the next.
It is.
I want to break it down a bit more than that. Exactly which bits changed in Wrath of the Lich King, when, and most importantly why. Why did raiding need to change 4 times in the space of one expansion? Oh, but before we go on, check this out. I was looking at my YouTube analytics the other day and I couldn't believe it. One person who watches my videos isn't currently subscribed. How bad is that? So if you subscribe today, you can make that 100%. What an opportunity. Anyway, throughout this video, I'll be quoting from a blue post made by our boy Ian Hazard-Costas in 2014. He joined Blizzard in summer 2008, by the way, before Wrath of the Lich King launched. And at the time, his job description was game designer, and his responsibilities included raid boss design and implementation, class design and balancing, and maintaining the World of Warcraft achievement system. So in other words, he would have had a pretty big say in all of the Wrath of the Lich King raiding changes, so it...
Man, I'm hyped for the raids, man. I think it's gonna be sick, boys. Okay, I know a lot of people are gonna be like, oh, we're gonna do Nax Ramaz again. It's gonna be fun, man. Nax, and we have like Ulduar. I liked TOTC. I thought TOTC was great. You know, ICC. It's gonna be fun, man. I'm excited.
Should be some good insight from him. So when Wrath eventually dropped on the 13th of November 2008, there were those who have been ploughing their way through the Sunwell for the past 8 months or so, stacked to the brim with tons of gear, weapons and trinkets. And Sunwell,
truly was a different time, man. You guys remember standing in line outside Blockbuster, man, for the new releases, dude? Oh, that was the times, man.
Nax Ramaz had not been seen through by the majority of players. The peak of Burning Crusade raiding was another sheer wall of difficulty at the time, scaled by few. And so Tier 7 began. A revamped Nax Ramaz made sense to do it all again. All those perfectly good assets that barely anybody's seen beyond a faint whisper of legend in vanilla.
I thought it was fine that they did that. Like doing, because as a person, I never got to do Wrath because I was a kid, right? So like doing Nax in Wrath was really sick. I really liked that. Malagos was a cool boss fight too. I like that too.
Eternity, defeating a Madden Dragon aspect in a single boss instance, and the Obsidian Sanctum, aka Sartharian's Lair, a point of meeting for the Black Dragon Flight. A strong 3-raid opening for the tier, you would think. Plenty to do there, surely. Well, actually, no, not really. I can tell you that every single bit of raid content was cleared on the same day. Do you want to guess how many days from launch it took raiders back then to clear everything? Okay, well, I'm not going to give you too long to guess because it didn't take them that long to do either. The entirety of Tier 7 fell over in 2 days from launch.
I mean, that's understandable. These raids were easy, even for me. I was not like a super sweaty tryhard, but like I played like I cleared all the raids pretty fast too, right? Like even as like a normal kind of gamer, you know.
Logging in, clear, 2 days, and that wasn't just the top guilds either. So many others would follow in the days to come. The content was simple.
It must have been such like a like as somebody who was like, you know, Kungen, like Insidia and those people like Nihilum, they must have just like plowed through Nax in Wrath, like, because they have done it in vanilla, right, when it was like a way more difficult.
Not very well tuned for the level of power that players had access to, not just from TBC gaming either. The questing blues and BOEs from Wrath of the Lich King were also very powerful. Also, it's worth a mention, revamped Nax is just easier Nax. A lot of these hardcore players had already done it one time, so a trip back there was nothing really to learn mechanically. Also, Death Knights at this point in time were mega, giga, ultra broken, overpowered. As for the other raids, half the Malagos fight is...
You guys remember when Death Knights first came out, man? Death Knights were so broken, dude. Oh my god, they had like an ability where when they died, they turned into like a ghoul, and that ghoul had like a leap at like a cleave ability. Like, it was ridiculous, man. They were like dumb. They were so dumb, man. And they could do that in Arena too. When you killed a Death Knight in Arena, they would just spawn as a ghoul and fuck you in the ass. Like, you know, it was like, what the hell? Like, what?
on a vehicle, and Sartharian Zero Drakes just isn't much of a
It was
boss
fun,
fight,
though.
to be honest. Also, we can hardly miss this bit out. Wrath the Lich King changed the number of people you raid with. It's no longer one difficulty, one raid size. Raids were split into either 10 or 25 man on separate lockouts, of course.
I raided 10 man. I never really did 25 man raiding back in the day. I did 10 man.
Designed to get those who saw raids as big scary obstacles in there to give them a try with their friends or families.
It was fun.
25 was meant to be harder and have better separate loot tables, but on this first pass for the difficulty it missed the mark. Whilst 10 man content got many new people into raids, those who pushed for performance were left without a real challenge. This is where another feature of Wrath of the Lich King was due to bridge the gap where challenge lacked. Achievements. These offer their own incentives through mounts and titles.
This was fun, actually. I thought it was really fun farming, like trying to get these achievements on the bosses. Like trying to kill like a boss in a special way, or try to like do something special for a boss. I thought it was kind of cool. I originally did definitely like it.
To try and complete raiding content under certain conditions, kill a boss with less players than usual, or try to really fast
special
kill.
ways to do
Some were
it.
held in high regard at the start of Wrath of the Lich King. Undying has always stood out to me as really cool, which was Nax in Wrath with 0 deaths, and Sartharian 3 Drakes upped the difficulty of the encounter considerably and rewarded both a title and a mount for the victors. Blizzard's concept here was, all players get to see the Obsidian Sanctum and experience the fight.
Oh my god. Do you guys think that gear score meta is gonna be way worse? It probably will be, right? Because like people are so much more sweaty nowadays. Link 5.6 gear score, or you won't get invited. Link Lich King heroic achievement. Oh, it's gonna be so bad. Oh yeah. That I do remember that. That was pretty bad. I remember you could get an add-on though, like some sort of a thing where you could link people fake gear score and fake achievements. You would kind of get caught out when you were inside the dungeon though, but by that time you were already inside, right? And it would feel weird to kick you. Gear score meta was everything on that private server. It killed that vibe 100%. I could definitely see that, and I think it's a big issue with people nowadays, man. Like it's the same with Classic, right? Like with Classic, like people just are so spurky, man. Like they over spurk and over like min-max everything so hard, and it like min-maxes the fun out of it, right? It really does. So let's hope that's not gonna be a thing, but it probably will be, let's be honest. But I'm still hyped for Wrath. I have not really played Wrath since back in the day, so I'm still excited. I still think it's gonna be fun, but we'll see, obviously, right? I think it could be fun just do like viewer pucks and like maybe like make a little scuffed raid or like something like that, right? Scuffed puck guild or whatever, right? We'll figure it out. I don't want to go too sweaty, but I think I'm still gonna have fun with it.
Players looking for an extra challenge can take on a tougher version of the same encounter and will be rewarded accordingly. The idea of having an encounter where players can choose to modify the difficulty during the raid instance had really been born here. Okay, technically 3 bugs and AQ40 was the first because the loot and difficulty depended on kill order, but they didn't really do anything with the idea for years, because the next tier of raiding would take the player-driven difficulty modifications and build it into the majority of the encounters.
Oh, Winter Grasp. And Ulduar. Oh yeah, I forgot about Winter Grasp, the raid. Where you could get PvP gear, like from last season and stuff. Yeah, Vault of Archivon,
This was tier
exactly.
8, patch 3.1.
Yeah, how many bosses were there at the end? Because I remember you could kill that boss and you could drop like a tier piece and like a PvP set, and it was like the previous season. And it started being just one guy who was the earth guy, and there was like a lightning guy and a fire guy. I think there was one for each element, right? There was 4? And there was a lot, I remember that. Yeah, you would do like Vault of Archivon runs, right, to get the gear. And you could get the mount, Black War Mammoth, right? Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember that. It's sort of like it's sort of coming back to me a little bit, right? As somebody who I played a little bit on Warmane, but I only did I did 2 levels. I did from like 71 from level 70 to 72, and I quit. I never really did like Wrath private server endgame. I never did that. That's one of the things I never did. But man, I'm excited for it. No, I'm not even joking. I actually never did max level Warmane stuff. I have played. but I only did like 2 or 3 levels. That's basically it. So yeah.
And Ulduar, an ancient Titan facility carved into one of the most breathtaking zones Blizzard has ever put together, and the home to an equally ancient evil. A tier where 9 out of the 13 encounters had an optional mode that awarded superior loot if completed.
Best raid ever made.
Was hard mode. Different from heroic in that heroic is a choice you make on your UI before entering the instance. Hard mode, however, was the boss by boss choice that you make where it was possible, and just as well, some of them.
I think that was so sick, man. Like a built-in hard mode where there's one difficulty, but you can go hard mode if you want to like make it even harder, right?
Were much harder than others. This gave raiders the choice.
Yeah.
Do you have a good setup to try this hard mode? Are the newer players or alts with you today? How much time do you have left this reset? One raid containing the baseline fights that everybody had the chance to see, with the option to toggle a harder version for better loot and more challenge. And to
you could do like what the flip is his name? The guy with the mouth. Not Yox. Is he Yoxaron? Yeah, it's Yoxaron. Yeah, you could do Yoxaron with like 0 light. Exactly. That's cool too.
Top it off, a secret hard mode end boss, Algalon the Observer. Though in Wrath the Lich King Classic, we may not. Okay,
I was a kid when Wrath was out. I was like 13, 14, right? I thought that Algalon the Observer was some like myth or something. I thought it was like something you could only do if like you were like some end game like insane raider. I was not okay. I was, you know, it was a little bit different. I wasn't like as sweaty, right? So like, whenever I saw people like videos of people doing Algalon, I thought it was something crazy, like some sick, insane thing.
Be hearing.
Maybe it was kind of dumb. I don't know.
Citizens of Dalaran, raise your eyes to the skies and observe.
Quite as much as you used to in retail. Who am I kidding? It's going to be spammed on the mega servers, isn't it? We're going to have to turn off voiceover. It's going to be that common. Make that cross-layer, why don't you, Blizz? So then, hard modes are a thing. Problem solved. That's it for the Wrath of the Lich King changes then. Well, as you probably know, no, it's not. Far from it, in fact. Because the next circular room, raid, would change things again.
This raid was good. I loved it. I thought it was amazing. I loved the boss fight. I loved Jiraxes. I loved the 2 worms. I loved the things with the 3 guys on the horses. And like the floor falls down. You fall down to a noob, like the spider guy. I loved it. I thought it was great. I know a lot of people hate the raid. Tried out the Grand Crusader, but I loved it. I thought it was so sick. You fixed Jiraxes. Yeah, the Yeti thing. The big Yeti guy where you have to like make him run into the wall and he takes more damage. It was fun. Yeah, the grind associated with this place was really grindy. But I did like the dungeon and I did like the raid. I did like those. Personally. But this place was grindy for sure. Yeah, I remember the Jiraxes song too.
Tier 9 patch 3.2. Back to a more divisive raid after the triumph
of cool.
Ulduar. Get used to the look of the walls and that crowd. In 3 months' time, you'll probably be able to tell me how many people are sitting in each stand. This is Trial of the Crusader. A very cool idea. A big old tournament to find Azeroth.
He's about to talk shit about it. He's about to talk crap. I love this. I will not change my mind on it. Maybe I will once we do it, like in Wrath Classic, whenever it does come out. But I liked it. I remember really liking this.
Most hardened heroes to storm the gates of Icecrown Citadel and defeat the Lich King and his boys once and for all. But things changed again. Hard mode was now a thing of the past, replaced by a toggle outside of the instance.
They should have really kept the hard mode. That's a really weird pause screen. They should have kept the hard mode. I think they really had something cool going on with the hard mode stuff. They should have definitely kept doing that.
In the same way dungeons have been since the Burning Crusade, this was heroic mode. Blizzard envisioned this as we had 3 distinct levels of raid difficulty. Normal, 10-man player, hard, 10-man player heroic or 25-man player normal, and very hard, 25-man player heroic. Yes, 25-man and 10-man heroic were
you could see like the mobs outside because they were imprisoned.
Meant to be similar levels of challenge here. So, hard modes then, they seemed good. What was the problem with them? Why?
Yeah, what was the problem? I loved it. I thought it was so cool. Maybe it's too much effort. I'm not sure, but
did they have to go? Well, here's what Ian had to say about that. While many players had and continue to hold a fondness for organic hard modes that could be enabled by specified actions within an encounter, they were inconsistent and often lacking clarity. Some of them, the Assembly of Iron or Freya, were elegant and intuitive, but others were frustrating or created traps for players. Whoops, you killed Hodir in 121 seconds, try again next week. Or stop DPS, don't kill XT's heart. Others
I actually thought the deconstructor with the heart, you kill the heart and he goes crazy, was funny. Because I remember back in the day when my guild did it, we like killed the heart and he just like fucking he like destroyed the entire raid. And it's like, what the hell just happened? That was funny. But the one with Hodir is really weird with the timing. Like you have to do it within the timer or something like that. I guess that's good, good and bad things, I suppose, right?
were too obscure and unlikely to be discovered without reading a guide. See General Vezax.
Yeah.
Also, he goes on to say there are long-term concerns over the number of directions that hard modes could be implemented into encounters. Wrath of the Lich King had already used the same idea twice. Starfarian 3 Drakes, Freya 3 Keepers, and the big red button is very cool and all, but the novelty of it is how unique it is. Heroic mode is like a big red button itself, but you just press it outside of the instance under your character frame, which isn't exactly...
I mean, I don't know. It's a different thing, I guess. It just adds something cool that, like, there's something you do inside the game that makes the boss fight more difficult, right? Like, you click the button, or you kill the heart of the deconstructor so he goes crazy, or... It adds, like, an MMO element, right? It's more than just like, oh, let's toggle the boss to be harder. Now okay, let's toggle the hard mode, and now it's 50% harder, right? It's like, I get it, it's probably better in that regard, but like, it's just like, it's cool having that little button you click, or like a special way to do the boss to engage it in a more difficult way, or like, it makes it more flavorsome, yeah, and more cool for sure. I think so. The YouTuber sounds like he doesn't like when anything is innovative. I think he's trying to be very, just like trying to, I don't know, but I think it's cool.
The same, is it? So, trial of the Crusader launch with 10-man, 10-man heroic, 25-man, and 25-man heroic. And when the day comes and that Colosseum opens without changes, it will be optimal for you to clear it 4 times per week for badges, if nothing else. Attempts were also added to try and stop...
Man, looking at this makes me, not this, but like, just looking at this whole video makes me like so excited in a way, because like, it's like I remember seeing all those things as a kid, right? And seeing all these places and like all those vendors and stuff like that. It brings a little bit of a special thing up for me, right?
Players bashing.
He's kind of thick though, not gonna lie, yeah, true.
Their head against the walls of end bosses, heroic was considered a mastery of mechanics.
This boss was fun.
500 plus pull brute force slaughterfest, and this wouldn't be the last raid to see this mechanic either. Trial of the Grand Crusader, the heroic version for 10 and 25, had 50 attempts, or wipes maximum per week, after which the remaining bosses would despawn and come back next reset. There were even achievements based upon having 0 wipes in heroic mode, which were limited time when the raid was current, and to this day are extremely rare due to the very high challenge of doing that. In fact,
I remember I got really sad after the whole thing was done and you couldn't get, I think it's called the Undying and the Immortal, from like clearing Nax without any deaths, right? And I was really sad I didn't manage to get it, because we did try to get it, but there was always some B-word who died, right? And then like it fucked it up for us. But I was pissed I didn't get that.
When taking a look on Wowhead, 1% of profiles had this. Oh, and there's also this, a tribute to immortality. Complete trial of the Grand Crusader 25-man with 0 deaths. This award's amount, attained by so few people, it shows that 0% of people have it on Wowhead. I think I
Tribute
can
to
say...
Insanity was his version. I never did this, yeah. Wrath was probably the best WoW expansion ever, but it's also that put retail on its current course. Yeah, it's a little bit of a two-way street, right? Because like I think that's what the general people just really do agree on. Like Wrath, for me as well, was like the pinnacle of WoW, right? It was like the Lich King. We have like, you know, all that, like the Arthas, the biggest villain and the most coolest villain in WoW. The raids were amazing. The PvP was good, but it also introduced a lot of things that is bringing WoW to not its downfall, but it's change to like a very different style of MMO. So it's definitely the greatest, but also the worst in that regard, right? And Kata just cemented that even more, because Kata just went even further down that route of just doing more of those things, right? So yeah. How's my day been so far? Pretty good. Pretty okay, actually. Thank you.
Say there will be a handful of guilds with this in the world in Wrath of the Lich King Classic. Whilst you might be hearing Raise Your Eyes to the Sky a lot, I think this one will be much rarer. So the move from hard mode to heroic may have turned raiding into more of a repetitive grind than was intended, but Blizzard were overall happy with the direction that it was going, and they said ultimately organized raiding feels most satisfying when players encounter a challenge, they strategize, adapt, and practice their execution, and then are able to overcome that challenge. Also, they mention it may be of interest to note that at the time we very nearly did not include a 10-player heroic difficulty at all. There was limited evidence that many players other than 25-player raiders were actually doing 10-player Ulduar hard modes, but due to having exactly one raid tier to ascertain whether or not there was a demand for it, they erred on the side of caution and decided to keep it, and I'm glad that
10-man raiding is cozy. It really was. I remember it was very cozy. Like, just get 9 other people together and then just do some 10-man raids. The only thing that sucked a little bit was that the gear was worse, right? The gear wasn't as good. But I definitely remember really, really liking 10-man raiding.
they did. I had a lot of fun in the 10-man heroics during
But not having having the gear being worse, just, you know, was a little bit, fuck.
But for Wrath of the Lich King, we have one major tier left.
ICC. Bone Storm. When I got the Bone Arbiter axe, I was so happy. And when I got Deathbringer's Will, I was lucky enough to get Deathbringer's Will of 25-man version. I'm not gonna take off my cap. Nope.
Patch 3.3 Tier 10 Ice Crown Citadel, the final tier, the big culmination, and even more changes to raiding, though nothing quite as severe as what we've seen so far.
The armor pin proc.
We realized that
getting Deathbringer's Will as a warrior was insane. I loved it. The ICC sightings were amazing. Oh my god, yeah. What are they called? Halls of Reflection, Pit of Saron, and some other place I can't remember the name of. Those were amazing, man. That dungeon where you go, I think that's Halls of Reflection. Forge of Soul, exactly. Forge of Soul is the worst one. Let's all agree on that. Forge of Soul, worst one. Pit of Saron, and then Halls of Reflection is the best one. The Halls of Reflection where like the Lich King goes and like follows you with that wall, and you have to clear those mobs. That one was sick. That was a really, really sick fight, but god damn, man. Yeah, those dungeons were sick for sure. Halls of Reflection was the worst. That was my favorite. I think Halls of Reflection, then Pit of Saron, and then the other one I can't even remember anymore. I already forgot the name. That one was not that great.
We needed to do something about the one major drawback of the Trial of the Crusader structure. Players were routinely clearing the content up to 4 times a week on the same
running around with Jaina?
Emblems of Triumph, if nothing else. Whilst Trial of the Crusader was a 5-man raid and wasn't totally unreasonable to do that many times per reset, Ice Crown Citadel was a 12-boss marathon of a raid and would have severely sapped the player base. So along came changes to the lockout system, with them saying, allow players to switch dynamically between the 2 difficulties mid-raid. But then Blizzard decided, you know what, this is too simple, we need to do something weird with raiding again to keep it fresh. So they staggered the normal releases, the heroic releases, and then they added attempts on top of it. Whilst patch 3.3 dropped on 9th of December 2009, the end of each wing within the raid didn't become available till sometime later. The Plague Wing became available on January 5th, where you had 10 attempts. The Blood Wing became available on January 19th.
Really? Did they do it like this? I don't remember this.
Have been up to 15, and the Frost Wing on February 2nd, including the Lich King with 20 attempts.
I don't remember that. Oh, well, okay.
Total. And those 20 attempts were shared between all of the 4 end bosses: Putricide, Lanathel, Syndragosa, and Lich King. Attempts would then be removed from normal mode 2 weeks later. But the
you could farm the ICC pre-boss trash for rep to get the ring. I know, because I did that. I remember doing ICC pre-boss trash farms to get my ring upgraded. I remember doing that on my warrior, but I do not remember the wings getting released like that. But I did do that farm. I was a pleb, okay? I'm not gonna lie. I wasn't some sweaty, super try-hard gamer. I was just like a 14-year-old kid playing WoW with my friends in like a scuffed guild having fun. Okay, I wasn't like a sweaty gamer. I wasn't like pushing like heroic. I was just playing WoW. You know, 10-man raiding, having fun, doing some casual arena. And I loved it. It was great. It was the best time ever, man. Oh my god.
Heroic mode dropped on the same week that the Frostwing did on normal, but the end bosses also kept the attempt system in for a very long time and then gradually gained 5 more attempts every 2 weeks. This is partially why Heroic Lich King lived for over 40 days. It was also just a really hard encounter, and what a legendary kill video that Paragon ended putting together of it. Other changes included a raid-wide debuff called Chill of the Throne because tank scaling was getting kind of wonky again by the end of the expansion. You will see something exactly like this in the Sunwell, because otherwise druids would be full-on role-playing Neo from the Matrix on boss encounters. A scaling buff was introduced 4 months after the launch
I remember this very well as well.
Of ICC to help people clear, and by July 2010 your entire raid was 30% stronger through this buff, though you could turn it off if you wanted to. This was designed to help people just get clears and be able to see the instance through eventually. Oh, and I nearly forgot, there's actually...
Oh yeah! was that in Wrath? When they brought back Oni too? Oh my god, I completely forgot about that! That was Wrath, wasn't it? Oh yeah, that completely I missed that whole. Yeah, they brought back Oni.
2 more raids on top of this in Wrath of the Lich King. There is a revamped Onyxia, which was released after Trial of the Crusader but before Icecrown City.
I did this, but I never did Ruby Sanctum. I remember I just did not give a flying heck about Ruby Sanctum because I've already killed the Lich King. That's like, it's literally, the expansion is literally called Wrath of the Lich King. Who the hell is this Ruby Sanctum, Andy? Like, why? What was that? What does that even to do? Like, what's that? I know it's probably some way of tying it into Cataclysm with the Ruby Sanctum and stuff like that, but like, for me, it just didn't make sense.
This wasn't really meant to be a challenge, it was just a celebration anniversary event for the game. You go there, laugh at funny DKP minus memes, and get some revamped loot. There was also the Vault of Archivon, which was in Wintergrasp. You'd be able to access this following your faction winning the battle and holding the zone. This was a really simple raid. It was always pugged back in the day. There'd be a number of Warden bosses in there, which would drop tier tokens appropriate for the current tier, as well as PvP gear. Each new tier that opened, there'd be a new Warden added, and they'd drop additional appropriate gear. And then finally, patch 3.3.5, Ruby Sanctum, which had some absolutely insane loot, but no other change.
I never did it. I never did this raid. I played WoW, I just didn't do this.
Just toggle heroic on
I didn't
Wrath,
care.
Go kill some dragons. Woohoo, very cool. That's Wrath of the Lich King raiding then. Looking forwards to it, but it makes you wonder. Blizzard have historically really liked leaving everything on the last patch for Classic because it's easier to understand than having patch by patch changes. It is the final version and it will reflect the best and even as they have said, the most complete version of the game as it was back then. It's a question and a big one to put to Blizzard. Are you going to leave it in what retrospectively became known as learning points during the expansion, or are we going to have a bit of a different experience the second time around? Oh, and before that, they won't change anything comments. Both copying Wrath of the Lich King's schedule involves changing something every single patch, and changing something also involves changing something. So it's just a question of which one will...
At this point, we should know that, like, there's nothing wrong with some changes, at least with Classic Route and all that shit, right? But, like, as long as they make sense in regards to, like, the experience of it, right?
Work better. Personally, I reckon they're going to put shared lockouts into Trial of the Crusader and not change anything else from how it was at the time. Maybe even that is too far though, and we're all desperate for that real 4 clears a week just to appreciate that raid and how good it was. That's about everything though. Let me know your thoughts on what you think they will do,
there it is.
if anything. And as always,
good video.
Thank you all so much for watching and listening in, and I shall see you all in the next one very soon.
There's the video. I will link it in the chat, boys. If you guys want to go give it a watch, a little like as well, leave a little comment on WillE's video. He's makes some very, very good videos. That was good, man. Man, I for one am very excited for Wrath for sure. I am a little bit of a Wrath baby, at least of what I remember, man. So, man, it would be fun to definitely play that. But we'll see, man. We'll see.